We're getting a lot of intelligence on this 1988th day that Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. There were eyewitnesses, and he was taken to the arms room. It is a soundproof room, and his life was taken. It was a brutal battle. We have information that one of the perpetrators, um, got hit in the mouth so bad by Richard that he had to have emergency dental surgery. Um, uh, but Richard was outnumbered, and he lost his life. They stole his body off of Fort Bliss. This happened on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, right on the borderland, the epicenter of everything. I think it's the epicenter of everything that's happening in the world today. I think what happens in El Paso um, will happen in Texas. What happens in Texas is the way that the United States will go, and the way the United States will go is the way the world will go. So I just think it is really the epicenter for a lot of geopolitics, and of course the criminal trafficking. And that's why, the media, and I mean, overall, anyone that wants any kind of job or wants to keep things going and whatever they're doing right now, they don't really um, report on this case. It was really absolutely amazing that Stu Peters, with Mitch Snow, um, talked about this case, and so beautifully, absolutely beautifully. We really appreciate that mention so much. They don't know how much, and how far that's going to take this, and um, so we're very very appreciative, and we're very appreciative of Candace Owens for platforming Mitch Snow. Um, of course, she lost a very good friend, a very good friend. I think Charlie Kirk. Well, we'll see. We'll see what all comes out, but she's investigating. She's investigating what happened to him. Just to let everyone know, I'm our family. We've been watching this very carefully, and let me make sure that everything is going. I'm not getting a really good connection. Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I don't know why my phone does this sometimes, and I'm just not with this restream. I know I can do even better. Let's see. I have so much to talk about. I think I'll just talk, and oh, there it goes. Okay. I got it now. Make sure. Oh, thank you, Anicia. Thank you so much. I see you now. Thank you for your love and your prayers and coming on so late, because we have so much breaking news. It is just incredible, because the intel community is reaching out to us, Special Forces is reaching out to us. The most unlikely people in the funeral business, um, key individuals reaching out to us. And so, we're just soaking in all of this information, wrapping our heads around it, trying to gather the information from all of it to summarize it so that we can share it with you. Because this is the vicious repatriation of Richard's remains. And I know That's such a that's such a claim, right? That's such a huge claim. But it is absolutely correct. Do not forget that there were those very important arrests of Martha Mendez Aguilar, of the raid on Plenitude Crematorium, the raid on Cesar Paneche's mansion, the and a whole bunch of files were gathered during that raid. And that was a dual raid, okay, with Mexican and American officials. Um, then we have, and of course, all of this is pressure and requested by the Trump administration, right? We had the arrest of Cesar Duarte, but that came a little later. But the Plenitude Crematorium, the Del Carmen, the um, La Diabla, and of course, Cesar Paneche's mansion. Very, very important. There's other things that happen. Remember the head of the tunnels for the cartel. He was killed with his two bodyguards. The bodyguards were um, state employees, I believe. They were like police. They were using those for the bodyguards of the cartel. It's just crazy. It is, it, and it's not crazy for the United States because it's happening in the United States. The same kind of corruption. And we see that in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis is just a forerunner, a drop in the bucket compared to the fraud that has been going on um, across our country. And so, but remember when all that happened, right after that, President Trump sent us not one, but two letters. And those letters are so thorough and so, well, commits him. He's committed by them and he's thorough and he is very deliberate in what he says. And he's not going to do that, right? It's not just a condolence letter. Okay, this is two letters coming one day after the next, right after these very key arrests and raids. That tells you something. That tells you he has a lot of intel. And this is about Richard. This is about Richard. So, because Richard was a United States service member, he was an Army soldier, and um, and I believe this has also something to do with Glennon Oakley Jr. because President Trump meant Glennon Oakley Jr. But that family has Glennon Oakley Jr.'s body. What happened to Richard and the theft of his body, and the evidence indicates that they were cashing in on his body. Okay, they were exploiting even his body. Um, so to do that to a U.S. Army soldier is just unthinkable for any commander in chief that's worth their weight in salt, right? Yeah, President Trump doesn't fool around. And he's being attacked and attacked and attacked. And of course, they're trying to connect him to these criminal activities. And everybody that sees what's going on is doing that because we don't trust anybody, right? We don't trust anybody. So we have to, um, listen to people and everything, but there's so much noise out there. There are so many false actors out there. You don't know what to listen to. You don't know what is true. So here we are. We're telling you the evidence in our son's case, the evidence of executive orders, the evidence of raids, the evidence of arrests, the evidence of like even Maduro, right? Maduro, the evidence of of what is going on, and this is breaking news with Raul Rocha, right? He was the owner of um, Miss, what was it? Not Miss America, Universe, right? Miss Universe pageant. That is so huge because he's like the Pemex guy, right? He's the big fuel theft guy. Of course, criminal trafficking every which way. And using that Pemex money to buy weapons. I mean, it is, if you haven't read about this guy, Rocha, because he just got uh, so one heck of a plea deal, right? He is, and I should have put his face up there with the birds. I'm going to have to do a part two of the singing birds because, you know, this Mr. Universe Rocha, who happens to have the same last name as Glenn Rocha, um, is singing, is singing. So he made some plea. He over Christmas, reports were that they saw him in Paris. I mean, the guy is not poor, right? He's not poor. Is he criminal? He's totally criminal. Um, and what is President Trump intentions? What is his game board? Do we trust him? Do we trust him to um, get information? Right? Does he really care about Rocha, or is he trying to get the Biden Harris, the Obama, the Bush, the Americans that have tampered with our elections, that have made deals against the United States, um, individuals like General John Kelly, who went to work as a foreign agent for the state of Chihuahua, which is absolutely ran by the cartels. And President Trump is saying that, right? He's saying that Mexico is now being ran by the cartels. So he absolutely is signaling and telling us what we know, what we already know that because evidence confirms it. So that gives President Trump a lot of legitimacy, right? And his um, how he won the vote gives him a lot of legitimacy. And so we are absolutely wearing the Make America Great Again hat because we know how complicated this all is to because the corruption is so high, so wide, so deep, so it's just absolutely immense. But then you have someone like President Trump that comes in, knows how things work, including beauty pageants, because I've heard a lot of complaints, um, saying that um, uh, Erica Kirk was in his beauty pageant or um, the Trump pageant and all of that. And that's all true. That's all true that they know each other for probably a long time and that President Trump was in the beauty pageant business. But the the bureaucracy hates President Trump so much that if they could find something criminal in that, they would have done it. He's had, oh gosh, in 2015, it was over 10 audits by the IRS already. So they have gone through all of his information, fine tooth comb, fine tooth comb, fine tooth comb. And we've been watching him, right? Before Richard, life was taken, and then, of course, after. And with Vanessa Guillen's mother, right? His body language like that, I'll never forget it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that just like we have experience in White Sands Missile Range, experience with the Germans on with the German American Club on Fort Bliss, with experience uh, on Fort Bliss, with experience in El Paso, in Las Cruces, friends all around, right? Because that's where we were living. That's where I was growing up. Um, Experience with Juarez, experience um, with so many. I just can't even tell you all the things in our life that have helped us experience with the military, right? That have helped us with this case, experience with McGuffey's, believe it or not. It was trying to get that curriculum going that taught me how to make memes and media, right? Without those years of experience learning that, I would not. I would not been able to do all of this so quickly. I would have had to learn it, and I already had learned it. Um, so this, there's just so many things. So President Trump's experience with the beauty pageant um, is a huge help because the intel we're getting is that the beauty pageant industry was used as a cover for all of this criminal trafficking. So he probably absolutely knew this, but wasn't in a position. You have to be in a position. Just think as president, being in the position of authority to do something about this, how much pushback he has gotten. I mean, they've tried to even take his life, right? So, when you're not in a position, it's like when we first came to El Paso, and we were just surrounded by people that said they were going to help us, that saying that they were our friend, even saying even saying that they were our family. I'm your daughter, Richard is my brother, trying to really really come close. um and we absolutely did not push back to any of that because we needed answers, right? We needed answers first, and we needed to know who is who, even though we were very suspicious of many people, rightfully so, and we were right about it. Um, I remember, well, I guess I pushed back a little bit with Joshua Lyons, the CAO, I know nothing, kind of uh, response all the time. But, and of course, push back to the CID, Marlon Soto, right? Because of all the lies that we were being fed and everything. But it could have been, we could have lost our temper, right? We could have lost our temper. They were really, it was just such an insane and crazy time with everything going on. But, but we just really tried to keep our cool we put this in God's hand, put the timing in God's hands, to watch. My Oma, I would want to help her cook, and she would say, Petty, she called me Petty, you need to watch. You need to watch first, right? And so that's what we were doing. We were watching, of course, doing what we could do behind the scenes and everything. So that's really paying off because now we have learned the system that we didn't know. We've learned the system, and we're still learning. And so this beauty pageant, um, him getting this plea deal, not, getting this promise that he wouldn't be arrested. And he's so criminal, y'all. But we're seeing the bigger picture because of the fuel theft, because of the fast and furious gun purchases, because of the all the other criminal trafficking in this. I think that Raul Rocha knows a lot. He knows a lot. And I think that there are the goal is the big fish, right? Is the big fish, is to bring it all down, is to bring the entire cartel down, with the infiltrators and compromised, I would say the Mormon faction, in the United States, right? Because they're just up to no good and they're in the intelligence community. And so, which brings us to um, connecting the dots, going from fuel theft, from Pemex fuel theft, buying American weapons, and trafficking under the cover of Miss Universe pageant. Now we're connecting the dots to the breach in security. So we received confirmation, hard evidence that the narcotics database has been breached. The narcotics intelligence database has been breached by the Mexican cartel, and that the accused the accused individual that allowed this breach access into the narcotics intelligence database, is assistant special agent Colin Wetton. So he is the accused. Um, and I'm just saying we have hard evidence, and we know, gosh, y'all, can you imagine? This is putting every whistleblower, every informant, every agent, and even the president of the United States in danger. That's what this is doing. It's so explosive, this information. And I hope that you can quickly see that what a bomb this breaking news is. So, and we have reported it. This is something that's been going on for a couple days, making sure that uh, we identify what's going on, that we have the evidence, that we document it, that we file it. And of course, Richard's identity was leaked by Colin Wetton to the cartel, putting a target on his back and led to his losing his life. And we also know that Judge Roger Rodriguez, a whistleblower who identified the foul play, the tampering of files, the leaking of files, identified the prime suspects in our son's case, that his identity was also leaked to the very suspects in our son's case. Um, and um, and he received both, Richard and Judge Rodriguez, as soon as those identities were leaked. What you could see in the whole timeline is absolute, continuous, severe retaliation. And so, when you put the timeline together, when you see when the retaliation started, when you know when you put in your whistleblower complaint, when you know um, when the leaks, like it was at the end of February, right? That we got notice, February of 2022, when you know um, we got interference in our investigation. So we know that right before that something happened, and that was a whistleblower complaint that went on uh, General Sean Bernabe's desk, on Ted Cruz's desk, on many agencies' desk, identifying the foul play. And we didn't know that that was issued then, until we received the phone call from Judge Rodriguez notifying us. And of course, then that's when Kachurga called, right? Uh, she is oh gosh, she's a monster, y'all. She is such a monster. She has no good intention for women, no good intention for children, no good intention for the border, no good intention for Hispanics, no good intention for anybody, for anybody. Um, and because we have evidence that confirms that. So she to me, she's in on it. She's in on this criminal activity because of her actions, and what she said, right after we were notified that Judge Rodriguez had submitted a whistleblower complaint in our son's case, and she was so concerned about that in a very bad way. She did not want any help for us. No, that was very clear. She made that very clear. So you had to be in that Zoom call. It was well, we have it, right? We have it. So um, yeah, the media, especially, um, well, I'm not at liberty to say all of them, but I'm just saying that wow, you can tell by the timeline when things happen. So that is really huge breaking news, and I know that we're side by side with this whole Charlie Kirk, and I will connect some more dots with you, because the breaking news is the connections of this woman, Miss Good, right? Who also, she has a lot of aliases, and she has military connections. Um, and I put up a little, I hope that you read it. I think you need to read it, because I think that the articles that I'm reading, that the world is putting out, is not telling us the truth about this woman, calling her a poet. And the woman I'm talking about is no more alive. She died a couple days ago. She was shot by an ICE officer, and the video has come out of his, I guess, his body cam footage, where she tries to drive him over. She absolutely tries to drive him. And they were instigating, they were harassing. And who would do that, right? Who would do that? Well, her family, it's so curious because her family has the same names, like in Richard's case again. Payne, remember Allie Payne? Remember Allie Payne? Well, this lady, and I need to put it up here so I can see her name. Um, this Renee Nicole Macklin. Okay, that's her name, but she's also known as Renee Nicole Good because she changed her name. Okay, not too long ago. Um, Yeah, just 2 years ago, she changed her name. She's from Colorado Springs, Colorado. This is a huge Mormon stronghold, is Colorado Springs, Colorado. Okay. And she died, and RIP, January 7th, just a couple days ago in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She had just moved there and she was fatally shot by the ICE officer. Why? Because she was there causing trouble. The videos show it. Why would you do? Why would you move somewhere, and then all of a sudden cause some trouble with uh, ICE agents? It just doesn't make sense, especially in the snow and the cold and all that. You would think that she would be trying to settle in Minnesota. Um, I think she went there to be an agitator. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe her wife could tell us. Maybe her wife could tell us why, what's all, her thinking. She did run a podcast with her ex. Well, she's a widow with her husband, who had passed away. She did that podcast. And, I don't know where the podcasts are. That would be so interesting to listen to the topics of her podcast that she was doing with her husband before he lost his life. Um, you know, so and, her relationships have these same names, like Payne, like, remember Allie Payne, and Scott, like Allie Scott Payne, right? Or Payne Scott. No, I think she goes by Allie Scott now, Colonel Allie Scott. She got promoted. She got promoted. She went to Disney for a while. She got promoted. She was the PAO. That really, it was a terrible thing what she was reporting. I mean, she made a deal with the devil, let me tell you. And anyway, so she's a Payne Scott. She's a Payne Scott. And then, of course, the other names that she's associated with are Campos, Foster, and Hart. And there's more, and there's more, but those were the biggies. So something, I don't know. I don't think that that's a coincidence. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't think it's a coincidence. And of course, her history where she lived is near, Fort Campbell. And of course, Tidewater VA bases like Langley and Joint Base Langley, Eustis. We went to Eustis, remember? Colorado Springs Defense Hubs, all over. And I hope that you watched the video. I was coming on a little late because I wanted to play the video, but I just got some new equipment and I have to set it all, get everything going to do that. So, yeah, so she's a widow of Timmy Ray Macklin Jr., who was in the Air Force for 14 years, just to let you know. So she is tied to the military. Um, and so she moved, I guess, to Minnesota to be with her partner, her wife now. I guess she calls her wife. Um, so that is breaking news too. That's really breaking news. Um, and I'm very sorry that she lost her life. I'm very, very sorry. But I just can't believe she tried to run over an ICE agent. I just don't get that, right? I don't get that. So, another story, is this interview with President Trump by, um, oh, what's his name? Sean. But anyway, it's Fox News, and I just don't even try to watch those things. I really don't. There's so much misinformation out there. It's like a waste of time because then you have to try to debunk your own brain after watching this stuff. So we're just trying to stick with facts and move forward. Um, but this was really, these interviews with President Trump are just gold mines. They have one gold piece after the other. And he is absolutely talking about, um, about Mexico, about it being ruled by cartel, that Scheinbaum is afraid, that she's scared, and that he is going to go in ground wise, just like he went by sea. And, I think by now everyone understands that he just plays it, by different rules. And because the other side has been playing with different rules and has breached and breached and breached, just like Colin Wetton. Um, Now we have this big breach in the narcotics intelligence database, putting so many people at risk. So it is desperate measures. And I hate to say that because they always use these like emergency. Um, but I think President Trump, I don't think he's trying to go to war. That's why he's giving all these plea deals, right? He's making these deals. Um, so we'll see. I think he's really trying to make huge changes in ways that we don't understand until we see it. Okay. I think I covered these major stories. Oh yes, the Zeraldi. Uh, and I don't want you to forget about the Zeraldi case, because Mario Zeraldi uh, absolutely is in connection with the Montoyas. A long history with Montoya. Montoya is the fake DA in El Paso. He's absolutely fake, y'all. We have hard evidence on hard evidence on hard evidence. Mr. 2028 stamp that is not installed properly in that position. He's fake and he has this very, very big problem. Um, Legal problem, very legal problem that he is not legally installed as the real DA. He's just not. He's a usurper right now. And so he gives Zeraldi just like a little slap on the wrist, right? Calling these victims prostitutes. Well, these victims aren't prostitutes; they are trafficked victims, and he was representing them, right? And so he knew that they were victims, and yet he brought them back after he had his way with them, right? And paid their uh, keepers, I guess. Um, then he returned her to her captor. Okay, that is just absolutely criminal on a federal level. So this is the direction too with Fort Huachuca and Fort Bliss, that this David Fordham, um, he was working on Fort Huachuca, carrying on a big child trafficking pornography um, ring, and for years they just let it happen. So and that just tells you that there's something going on in the Fort Huachuca, like a DA Montoya situation there. So this is showing a pattern of unwillingness to hold these people that want to do the worst type of crimes against children accountable for their actions, which should include the death penalty. I'm just saying. I think it should include the death penalty. So I think that is really the connections that I wanted to make. That, oh, and these women, they were Cuban, but many of these women are from Eastern Europe. So you have Cubans and Eastern Europe women coming through being trafficked, and it gets very, very ugly. It gets very, very ugly. And this is what President Trump is absolutely trying to stop, in our opinion, using hard evidence, um, because, that's what he's doing. Because that's what he's doing. So I think that is positive statements there, and putting a lot of pieces together there. And I thank you for sharing, sharing, sharing. And I will be absolute and join, right? Join. We're almost at 20,000. We're almost at 20,000. So, yeah, the more people that share and join, the more that this word can get out, and we could get justice quicker, right? Justice quicker, because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you so much. God bless you. And like I said, share, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.